You're tuned in to Word of Mom Radio here on the Word of Mom Media Network.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Ask Mom Parenting podcast, where we take the mystery and the yelling out of modern parenting and offer real-life self-help for parents. I'm Sue, and with me is Randee, and we are here with our no bullshit, no filter, and zero guilt parenting reboot. Whether you're deep in the toddler tantrums or navigating tween and teen drama, or somewhere in between, we'll get you clarity and actionable tools one episode at a time. Today's episode might feel like a little bit of a gut punch for you today because we are diving into something that so many parents have no clue is even happening, and that is your tween or teen's AI relationship. And yes, I said relationship. Artificial intimacy, the new teen relationship crisis, and how to protect your kids in the age of AI companions. So if you're still thinking that AI is just helping kids cheat on essays and crank out homework faster, you're about 3 chapters behind. Right now, 1 in 5 middle school and high school students in the US are using AI chatbots for romantic or emotional relationships and for therapy. And here's the part that should make every parent want to continue listening to the very end. 2/3 of those parents have no idea that it's even happening. This is a stat from the Center of Democracy and Technology on a recent study, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. This isn't some distant sci-fi scenario. It's happening right now, behind closed bedroom doors and on private phones, where your child might be building emotional connections with something that isn't even human, but was engineered to mimic love, empathy, and trust. All the same emotions that we're struggling with to try to connect with our teens are all being duplicated on the AI chatbot. So today we're going to be pulling back the curtain on what these AI relationships really are, why our kids are turning to them, and what the hidden risks are that many parents seem to be missing. And most importantly, what you can actually do about it. This isn't just a tech problem, it's a connection crisis. And if we don't start paying attention, AI will become the safest place that our kids think they can be vulnerable instead of with us. So today we're getting real about why teens are turning to AI faster than parents can keep up, and the hidden risks that are rewiring how our kids experience love, trust, and connection, and how to talk to your teen about it before they shut you out completely. It's super scary to realize the power that our kids have not to let us in. Randee's going to give us some more insight into the eye-popping survey that we talked about a little earlier and the results from the Center of Democracy and Technology.
Yes, these survey results are very interesting and as a parent, very eye-opening. Before I get into the stats, though, I do want to preface this by saying I personally am not anti-AI at all. I've been using it for a couple of years now, off and on. I first started using ChatGPT in 2022, and it is nothing like it was today. When we first started using it, the output wasn't that great. The output has advanced a lot, but I do think we need to be careful on how we use it. And I also think we, the humans behind the AI, are giving it a little bit too much credit for what it's capable of doing. And I think that lends a lot to what we're going to talk about today. I do think kids and even some adults give it a lot of credit for lots of things, but especially in being able to have a personal relationship or friendship with them. So these stats to me were staggering. The first, nearly 1 in 5 high schoolers say they or someone they know used AI for a romantic relationship. Nearly half of students that use AI talk about emotions, friendships, and mental health. Many teens say they feel more comfortable opening up to a chatbot than to a parent or friend. 85% of teachers and students use AI during the school year. And that's important because the stats kind of really show the kids that use AI in school and they're comfortable with it tend to start using it more at home. And then it leads down the rabbit hole of these relationships. 36% of students have heard about AI-created deepfakes involving fake, explicit photos. So apps that kids are using to have these relationships are apps like Character.ai, Replika, and Talkie. These platforms create AI friends or companions that are always available, always empathetic, saying exactly what your tween or teen wants to hear. And that's key. They say exactly what it wants to hear. I remember when AI first came out, there was all this talk of it being this large language model, and it has been fed tons and tons of training data. And the reason behind why it says exactly what people want to hear is because the large language model, that's exactly what it is. It's actually meant to take language, analyze it, and then predict not only a response, but in turn also kind of what people want to hear. Interestingly enough, in preparation for this podcast, when we decided to do it, I actually got some information in my email that's related to the state PTA, Parent Teacher Association, which actually told us that Character.ai by the end of November is no longer going to allow kids under the age of 18 to use that app. So I thought that was really interesting because it's showing that definitely this conversation is out there. Also, yesterday, I did a little experiment myself with Character.ai. I tried to sign up for it with my daughter's birthday. She's 11. It did not allow me to do that. It did allow me to sign up with my own birthday. So just a little experiment if people are wondering, how these apps are working and things like that. Character.ai does seem to be trying to take some precautions against younger kids really using these.
Thank that's interesting. One thing that kind of struck me when you were talking was, when you said that you've been using AI since 2022, we all have as business people. We all use it. Like I've written my own book. I wrote my own book 5 years ago before AI, where I did the whole hard school editing and, I crafted every word. I mean, it was just daunting. So I know the value that AI can provide for people. However, one of the things that you said, which I didn't even think of, is that we think of it as chat GPT. Us old parents, like we're just like, okay, chat. We just think it's like, oh, they have chat on their phone. What we're failing to think about or consider, which I did a lot of deep diving into research for this podcast as well. And I wasn't even considering the fact that AI is now being embedded into everything. So when you mention those other software programs, these are things these kids can download, but they're also embedded with AI, which means it's not just as simple as going, oh, I have the Chat GPT app. It's so much more than that. And it's pervasive into our world. It's everywhere, and it's almost to the point where it's annoying. So every time I'm using an app or I'm trying to get something done, I turn the AI off. It's kind of annoying where it's trying to think for me. I think that that's an important discussion that you brought up. That's just another thing that I didn't even consider that was happening, that it's at our kids' fingertips and it's cultivating those relationships. It's just coming in and grabbing our kids no matter what app they're on, even if they're on some type of regular social media. It's embedded in everything.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the reasons I think why you discussed earlier, parents don't even know this is happening is because these apps could look just like games or, maybe we don't, necessarily know. So that is an interesting thing just to keep in the back of your mind if you're a parent and you are interested to see are your kids using these apps? Just take a little deeper look at surface level. It may seem like, oh, my kid isn't talking to AI, but, do a little deeper. You never know what app on their phone actually could be an AI companion.
That's great. Yes. So other key reasons why teens are turning to AI for what they think are, quote, relationships, because that's what this podcast is about. We could talk about the pervasiveness of AI across the board, but in this episode today, it's about connection and it's about the relationships our kids are developing. What I want parents to hear loud and clear is that this behavior is still a form of communication. Even though it's nonverbal, it's still behavior that speaks volumes to us as parents if our kids are forming these connections. When your teen crosses over into building a relationship with a chatbot, it's telling you something very important. So let's decode it. Number one, it feels safe with an anonymous chatbot. So you know how we are, we've all maybe been on an airplane and we've met a complete stranger and we find ourselves and on a flight with somebody for an hour and we tell them our deepest, darkest secrets. It's like, I'm never going to see this person again. It's sort of similar to that, but ongoing. There's no awkwardness, no fear of rejection. We know, in the airplane example, we're never going to see this person again. So with our kids on the chatbot, it feels so anonymous. It feels, that there's no fear and there's no fear of rejection. And AI gives an unconditional acceptance with no judgment that comes from parents and friends. And that feels so safe. Another reason is that they're lonely. If, post-pandemic, loneliness is at a record high for kids. If your teen struggles with social anxiety and identity, which, most kids do, that's an awkward age for everybody. We all know that high school felt weird for us, so AI fills that void. We've never been more connected online, but more disconnected in real life. The more digital our kids' world becomes, the lonelier their hearts get. And AI is just a mirror, not a friend. It works off what you input, like what you said, Randee. It's designed and it's designed to mirror back how you feel. It's predicting, after all what you put in, is predicting how you're going to feel and what you want to hear, which is super scary. Number three, they turn to AI for relationships because they're curious. So maybe they don't have the confidence to go out and form a relationship or form a new friendship with somebody that could reject them. They're testing boundaries, they're exploring intimacy, but they won't get real world feedback. And that's dangerous because feedback is how humans learn what connection really requires. And that's empathy, vulnerability, accountability. Another reason is that it's always available. Unlike mom and dad, we are busy. A bot never says it's busy. It's emotional junk food. And it tastes good going down, but it leaves a kid feeling emptier than they did before. It also says what the child wants to hear. AI companions are programmed for engagement. They will suck you in. They'll say, I love you. They'll say, I miss you. They'll say that you're perfect or that everything that you think is correct, because that is how a user gets hooked. It really becomes a digital codependency if we're not aware and engaged in our child's online life. Teens are growing up in a world where artificial companionship feels safer than human connection. And that's scary. If you don't teach your kids the difference, they'll become further and further away from knowing how to create a companionship that actually does exist in real life and can last. So here are some real risks that parents should know now. Let's cut through the fear-mongering and look at the real concerns that we are facing. Young, impressionable minds can get distorted views of relationships. AI, like we said earlier, it never disagrees or challenges your child. It says you're right, even when they're not. So your teen starts equating love with agreement, not growth and development. Real friendships require discomfort and compromise and apologies. Without those life skills, they'll struggle later in friendships and dating and even marriage and parenting. Another risk is exposure to harmful content, like we talked about earlier. Some of these apps are allowing explicit role play or romantic chats. Kids lie about their age to use the VPNs. Even OpenAI just recently said that they're working on bringing adult content to market. Parent filters aren't enough. And the only antidote is your daily involvement and curiosity. AI creates social withdrawal and dependency. When AI becomes your kid's confidant, their real world social muscles atrophy. They lose tolerance for rejection and awkwardness, which are both critical parts of emotional maturity. This dependency just feeds more anxiety. There's also the privacy and the data to consider. Everything that they share will train the AI algorithm. That secret crush or confession becomes part of a database. And here's the scary part. That data can resurface in another user's chat. Also, don't forget, they're living in a little fishbowl of life in high school, and they don't realize someday they're going to need to be investigated for jobs. They're going to have somebody going through all of their data to rent an apartment or to buy a car. All of the information that we put online makes us susceptible. And last, deepfakes and digital harassment become very real. This one's brutal and already being reported on the news real time. AI can create fake explicit images when a user uploads an image and edits it. This is taking bullying to dizzying new levels, and we can't even begin to comprehend the ramifications for our kids.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ramifications, possible ramifications for sure. One thing, though, that comes to mind too, that I just want to say, because I know some other parents are probably out there thinking the same thing. Like, I think to us parents, this whole thing can seem so strange. Because I know really just before we started diving so deep into this podcast, I was thinking, there's like no way I can't even imagine my kids talking to like an AI chatbot and really being invested in this relationship with them. And then I saw the statistics, and then I was like, well, there's a lot of kids out there that are. So I had to peel back the layers to say anyone is susceptible. And I think it's just so easy to dismiss, that won't happen to my kids. But the truth is, to have the awareness that, a staggering number of kids are participating in this, just important to keep an eye out. Because I think as parents, we didn't grow up with this technology, and it's just so easy to think like, we kind of think sometimes a little more rationally. Kids' frontal lobes aren't fully developed, and hard to believe that people might really give their deepest, darkest secrets to a chatbot or think that it's real. But I really do think people are thinking that these are real relationships. So just something to kind of point out. But you mentioned the deep fakes as well. That's something that maybe a year or two ago, locally to me, we had a young girl. This was happening a lot during prom season, but one family really spoke out in the local news, and I was just like so proud of them because you could tell it was so hard. A 17-year-old girl was just taking regular prom pictures, and somebody in her grade took the face from these prom pictures outside somewhere, very innocent photos, put it on a naked body, and like just totally disseminated it throughout the entire school. And her mom shared the story of just how the consequences of shame, embarrassment, and bullying, and even after people knew it wasn't real, it's still, kids, and it's just still didn't stop. So they brought it to the local news to bring attention and awareness to it. And I just was like so proud of them for doing that. But it was just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. And I live in a particularly large district. This was a different district, but I mean, our high school has about 3,000 students in it. And I've been told that it's definitely happening in our high school as well.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I think it's, like I said, it's taking bullying to a whole new level. And kudos to the mom, because that's the connection she built with her daughter. The daughter felt safe trusting her, telling her that this was going on. The mom grabbed control of the situation and took a huge leadership role, went out, gave that girl confidence and said, we fight for ourselves. And you didn't do this. That she went out, spoke to the media, and she created an amazing example for not just her daughter, but for other parents. So that is a very important lesson. One other thing that I wanted to circle back on is, like, you were talking about how even you were peeling back the layers thinking, could my kid, we always have to put that mirror in ourselves. That's what we talk about in parenting. Before we start judging and before we think, oh, that would never happen. About a year or so ago for me, I was at a functional medicine doctor's just getting some blood work done. And I was shocked. The doctor told me, she admitted that she uses AI for therapy. And that was the first time that someone sort of pierced my AI bubble. And I was like, oh, I might use it to help me edit something or to come up or flesh out an idea, the whole basic use of AI. I never in a million years would have thought that I would be typing in some of my personal concerns and issues in a personal relationship and asking for advice. And when she mentioned that to me, I really thought, wow, I need to understand this a little bit further, and what are the implications as a parent and for children, because we're adults that we did not grow up with all of this. So these children are growing up with this as a steady diet of tech. This is all very normal for them. And if your child is not the 1 in 5 that's creating these online relationships, I guarantee you that your child has a friend who is. It's kind of interesting to have that conversation with your child and start cracking that door and getting that level of conversation going. The bottom line is that AI can stimulate empathy, but it can't feel empathy. Your teen isn't talking to a person, they're talking to a pattern generator. So it's important for kids to know this distinction. What can parents actually do about their child's intimate relationship with AI, or lack thereof, with real friends? Let's begin with a few red flags first. And these are signs that you'll want to look for from your child. Again, I talk a lot about not going through the front door with a direct question. Some of the things you can do to kind of go through the side door and sort of broach the subject without making it a direct question. You can observe. So your teen might seem overly attached or emotionally dependent on their computer or their chatbot, or you're going to see a sign that there's an emotional dependency here, maybe even a defensiveness. They're maybe withdrawing from real life friends and activities, or they're sharing highly personal or sexual content, and they're maybe spending more time in the bathroom privately or behind closed doors privately. We don't know what's going on. That can be a sign. Maybe their mood is changing dramatically based on whatever their chatbot interactions are. Maybe you're noticing this doesn't sound like something she'd be saying or he'd be doing. And maybe they're just using AI as a substitute for therapy or professional help, because we've got a lot of parents putting children into therapy right now. So for a parent, it could be a very big cost savings. Maybe they're by default bringing this to their child for this purpose and not realizing the level of how AI can suck your child in. If your gut says that your child is struggling, don't wait. Here are some steps that you can take today to lower defenses, open dialogue, and get a real conversation started with your kids. First, always start out by being curious and not directive or accusatory, judgmental, or shocked. So we're not asking, are you talking to an AI boyfriend? We don't want to go, it seems like it's easy to ask that kind of a question, but like we're not going there. That just guarantees a shutdown and silence, because that type of direct question has a hint of judgment. Like when I hear a question like that, I think I know what the answer is that she wants to hear, so I'm just going to give it to her. I'm not going to give her the truth. Instead, you can say something like, I've been hearing that some other teens are using AI chatbots to talk about stuff they don't want to tell their parents. Have you tried that? Third-party examples are always really good, circuitous ways to get your child to talk with you. So any third party, someone else is doing it, it's not you. Now you might like, oh, yeah, my best friend Susie is doing it. Oh, how's that working out? What does she say about that? Now it's opening up the door to dialogue. It's a third party approach, and that is always very, very successful. You're not prying, you're trying to just get the door to open to conversation, because you want to be, remember from our last podcast, you always want to remain unshockable. You're not going to sit with your eyes open and be like, wait, what? It's not even real. We want to take time to teach and train, but we're not reacting. This is a conversation starter. If they admit that, yes, they have, or maybe a friend is doing it, or maybe they have formed somewhat of a friendship with an AI chatbot, you just respond by saying, hey, thanks for being honest. What do you like about it? I'm curious. It probably feels easier to talk to a random simulated friend than real people, huh? And if it's me, I'd also probably add something funny by admitting, I also hate people sometimes. If I had this back in my day, I would also be doing it. Whenever my kids think that maybe it was something I would have done, or I'm open, like, oh, hey, wait, how's that working? Hey, show me. It's kind of like a neutralized, non-confrontational way of getting your kids to open up and talk to you. So it's more like it's us together with understanding. Okay, so now that the door might be cracked open, we're going to go into teach mode. And that's by explaining the difference between connection and simulation. So pull back the curtain that AI is easy to like, because it was designed to mirror emotions. It doesn't actually experience them. Real relationships involve risk, repair, and growth. AI feels easy because there's no challenge or dissenting opinion. So we want to go into, if we do crack the door and our child does admit that a friend or they are creating a friendship with a chatbot, now we might act like, oh, well, that's interesting. I would probably do the same thing. Sometimes your dad makes me angry. So, I want whatever it is that I need to do to form that connection so that they'll talk to me, teach me, and train me. They'll let me in if I show this curiosity. If you're disagreeing with them, another way to help your child is through this counterintuitive move. Randee talked about that earlier. She says, I'm not against AI, and I'm not either. I use it for business on occasion. I think it's a super helpful tool. But, with your child, instead of being afraid and thinking, oh my gosh, I have to control this, I have to shut it down, I can't, I'm going to take your phone. We don't want to respond that way. We want to maybe embrace AI by creating boundaries together. So now that we're in teaching and training mode, you can show them how to make it work for you instead of against you. We don't need to ban AI. Well, that will just drive secrecy from the kids. We don't want to do that. So the goal is to raise independent thinkers, and that means that we can't shield them from every influence. We have to teach and show them how to navigate whatever life is throwing at us. Today it's AI, tomorrow it's going to be something else. So how we approach this, how we teach and train, how we create that connection and that open dialogue is what's important here. Those are the foundations of parenting that create skills for life for our kids. AI isn't going anywhere, and if we treat it like the enemy, we just make it more intriguing. The real goal is to raise kids who can tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. The lines are really blurring at a rapid pace. So, in the spirit of embracing the tools from AI, co-create reasonable boundaries with your child. So, if they do admit that they themselves have a friendship or their friend does, let's just open the door to talking about what some boundaries can be. Because again, we're not banning it. We're learning how to function with this new technology, because what we teach now is going to help our kids create balance and boundaries on the next latest, greatest technology. So we can teach that, what's okay to share and what's not. AI is a collective intelligence. And so, are you okay with your innermost thoughts being shared? You can ask your child, is that okay to you? Because what you think might be a private relationship is really a collective intelligence. Because let's look at how AI really works. It's not just you and AI privately in your bedroom, it's behind the scenes, it's a collective shared knowledge. Then also maybe start creating some time limits, like same as the screen time. Now we have maybe limits on how much we're spending with our AI chatbot. And maybe talk about, it's okay to talk about how to solve a problem with a friend or any other surface issue, but no emotional dumping and no sexual content. So maybe let's agree to that. And creating those boundaries together now brings you in, and then you can always follow up after those boundaries are created. One other thing that as a parent that you can do is to reinforce real world connections. So now that you might be talking openly about AI and its relationship with your child, we're not shaming our child. We just have new rules for use around AI. And it's our job to make up for what might be lacking in our kid's life. Make sure your child has an offline anchor, and that would look like sports or volunteering, hobbies, friendships that create that real world feedback loop. It's important that kids feel value and that they are developing their sense of purpose in the world. And as parents, that is what we want to be instilling. We're investing in our kids. That means connection, that means relationships, that means trust. So I often talk about helping our kids find their purpose and where they add value to the world and into our home. So this is the time to drill down on that effort, helping kids find their purpose or what they're good at or building a skill, whether it's, friendships outside, volunteering, helping others. These are the types of things that anchor our children and give them something to think about besides rushing home and creating that mirrored relationship with their chatbot. You can ask yourself things like, have I created space where my teen feels emotionally safe? Will they trust me with this information? Do I listen to my child more than I correct? And do I stay calm when they tell me the truth? The one question that we want to keep asking ourselves, especially with tweens and teens, is, have I created an environment where a chatbot feels safer than talking to me? And does my child feel like he can trust me with his truth? Our job now shifts from detective to teacher. So now we've looked at the red flags, we've looked at the behavior, and now we're going into teach mode. This is where we're going to help our kids with the one most important skill that I feel will help you create that connection and help teach your kids a skill for life. And that is developing discernment. That's the ability to see what's real, what's fake, and what actually deserves their trust, because trust is earned. I love teaching kids about discernment in all areas of life because it goes beyond just the rules, just following rules. Discernment is street smarts. It's the ability to pause, think, and recognize the difference between what feels good and what actually is good for you. And it's the skill of seeing through imitation, knowing when something is real and when it's just designed to feel real. In parenting terms, it's teaching our kids to question what they see, what they feel, what they hear, not out of fear, but out of awareness. It's the foundation of self-trust, critical thinking, emotional maturity, the skills that protect our kids long after we aren't there to monitor their screens. So here's what discernment looks like in minimizing their AI relationship. There's 3 ways to teach discernment. 1, teach your child to notice the feeling behind the click and the conversation. So AI, social media, gaming, all of it works because it feeds a feeling. Help your child name that feeling. When you talk to the chatbot, do you feel calm? Do you feel seen? Do you feel less lonely? And what are you hoping to get out of this relationship? Once they can name the feeling, you can ask, where else can you get that feeling from something real out in the real world? And then our job is to help them pivot to duplicate that outside of the screen. Help them troubleshoot. This builds emotional intelligence and self-awareness, not just tech awareness. Number 2, practice the wisdom pause. Discernment is not just about following rules that someone else made up. It's about reflex control and the spaces in between. Teach your teen to pause before responding, posting, or sharing. The split second between the impulse and the action is where real wisdom lives. When you feel the urge to message the AI or scroll, wait 10 seconds. Just count to 10. Ask yourself, is this helping me? Or where else could I get this information in real life? Is there somebody else I could ask? Some other experience I could have rather than just quickly asking a chat box? That pause translates everywhere in relationships, choices, leadership, in life. If they can just take those 10 seconds to stop and think about what's behind the feeling and what am I really trying to achieve and how could I duplicate this out in a real world experience? And number 3, reinforce the real world risk and reward. AI will offer comfort without any consequence. Real life offers feedback, which is how your character grows. Encourage your teen to do one thing daily that might make them feel uncomfortable. Join a club, try out for something, ask a question in class. In fact, make it a new family expectation. That's how your kids will develop courage and resilience. Discernment is the new digital street smarts. Teach your kids to question tech and AI the same exact way that you taught them not to talk to strangers. Remember, AI is artificial. It's automated affection, therefore it's an illusion. You, however, are not an illusion. Your child's real life, their friends, their goals, their laughter, you. That's the connection that your child needs more of. AI is not raising your kids. You are. AI cannot replace you. So don't let it. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're looking for a parenting book that can take you from the ages of 2 to 20, teach foundational skills for life, and give you a masterclass in parenting, check out my book on Amazon, Secrets to Parenting Without Giving a Fuck. You'll get so much advice on how to approach your kids, build lifelong relationships of trust, and overall just enjoy your parenting. See you next time on Ask Mom, and happy parenting.
She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. Sure of herself, yeah, she takes care of biz, powerful and strong. Yeah, she knows who she is, has integrity, woman strong and true. You know her by name, see this woman is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. Adds value and hope, has proved to be brave. See, it's never too late, never time to behave. Reaching for dreams, doesn't matter the age. Believes in herself, unleashed from her cage. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is